Welcome back to the Real Talk Corner podcast, where we dive deep into personal journeys and topics that can inspire and transform us on a mind, body, soul, and spirit level. I'm your host, Ariana Gutierrez. Before I get into topics today, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone tuning into this podcast. You guys are the reason why I come back with content, with conversations, with beautiful guests. We are just, it's phenomenal of how many places that we're being listened to. I mean, we are all over, you guys, and I just want to celebrate good time. Come on. I want to celebrate because sometimes we don't sit and just take it in and just have that moment where it's like, wow, this is how far we've come. And I've told you guys before a little bit of the history of the podcast and how it's changed over time. I probably will keep telling you guys because it amazes me how we've flourished and just kind of like expanded. But I want to say thank you because, yes, 95% of listeners are from the United States. But we also have the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, Mexico. We have Canada, Switzerland, Sweden, Panama, Austria, France, Slovakia. What's up, y'all? Thailand, Japan, New Zealand, Netherlands, Poland, Sri Lanka, Portugal, Nigeria, Italy, South Africa, Jamaica, Norway, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Ghana, Greece. What is up, you guys? It is like, wow, it blows my mind. A lot of you are listening on the web browsers. Hey, if you're on your computer or laptop, get it in. 78% of you guys open it up on a web browser. And I would, not that I want to encourage you to get Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, but sometimes it is a little bit easier to track when you guys get on those, and you can like the podcast over there. You also can click the notifications over there so you know when new episodes drop. But I do appreciate wherever you guys are listening, because if you are in a country that doesn't have Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then, you know, web browser it is. So absolutely, hands down, thank you, thank you, thank you. Apple right now, podcasts are actually beating Spotify at 12%. I got to say, like, I don't, again, this, we're not going to go into team Android, team iPhone, but I do appreciate each and every one of you guys. Spotify is at 6%. And then, of course, Spotify for podcasters. So those of you who have your own podcast, 3% are tuning in too. And of course, just like today, I have a couple who's a podcast. They have their own podcast, and I love sharing my platform. So if you are someone who wants to come on the platform, reach out to me so that we could go ahead and get it in and bring some valuable conversation to the table. Okay. I'm going to say that, you know, when it comes to the age groups, predominantly 23 to 27 and 35 to 44 listening, and this is on Spotify. I'd have to jump over to Apple to go check it out. But I just want to say for that part, thank you, and thank you. Now, sometimes we get into the hustle and bustle, and I don't want to ever forget to thank you guys, because you're the reason why I'm here. You're the reason why I show up, and you're the reason why I do this. Plus, I love doing it. But today, I'm joined with special guest, a married couple, and the host of Beyond I Do. They have 26 years of marriage experience. They will share the joys and complications of their journey, offering insights and advice and hopes of bringing back a positive outlook on marriage unions between a man and a woman. And let's also be real today about some of the expectations of the union, correct? But join us for an inspiring and heartfelt conversation. Let's get into it.
The Real Talk Corner. We back. We in the building. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, fighting my way through the darkness where the wicked don't rest. Conscious aware, truth I dare, shields tied to my chest. My tenacity can put these motherfuckers to the test. High priestess of fire, alchemistic desire. I say manifest and shit, even when I am tired. You can call me amazing, by the bricks I be laying, but you'll never call me lazy, cause my vibes are devastating. In the league of my own, spitting real talk energy. I know a little something about a thing called synergy. This is so ready, throw with sending masses awaken me. Listen up, cause we about to set your mind, body, and soul free.
So let's get into it. Another episode of the Real Talk Corner. I'm your host, Ariana the Quantum Healer, and today I have two special guests with me, Byron and Margaret, who are the owners of the Beyond I Do podcast. So for the people who don't know you, let's just kind of go on what you guys do and what your podcast is about.
Okay.
All right. So we, excuse me, our podcast started out as an idea to kind of help navigate others who who love. Initially, I was watching Dr. Phil one day. Not Dr. Phil, I'm sorry.
Steve Harvey show.
Steve Harvey show.
I'm mad at him because this is his part to say. And he's messing up. This is his part. This is what he does.
You're like, we rehearsed this.
I mean, this is what he does.
All right. Well, we started out, I was looking at an episode of Steve Harvey, and they had a bunch of married couples on, and the oldest couple had been married over 50 years, so they asked the usual question, how did you guys make it through 50 years of marriage? And, of course, you heard the basic communication. So in my mind, I'm like, well, what is communication? And, of course, gallivanting on social media nowadays, you see that no one's staying together, everybody's breaking up. And marriage is just like the worst thing in the world according to social media, but it's not true, because I'm seeing people who are living and thriving and staying together. So when I approached her about it, I said, let's do a podcast and talk about marriage. And I thought, she ain't gonna do it, and she's an introvert, so I was like, she ain't gonna do it. But she shot me. She said, yeah, let's do it. Right. And then it took us about a year and a half to actually.
We had wonderful plans, and we were so excited. And then the idea of just putting stuff out there was scary. And so after about a year and a half, we just did it. And we were pleased with what people were saying. And especially that first year, we had low numbers, and we're putting in a lot of work. Is it really worth it? Right. And then one of his coworkers sent him a text and was like, really enjoy this, and y'all keep doing what you're doing. My family members would share, when we have a new episode, or my mom passed away in 2015, and they'd say, she'd be so proud. And so things like that just kept us moving forward. And as we did the podcast and that kind of grew, we started to look into other ways that we could be advocates for love and how we could support others who wanted that lasting relationship. So we started a program so that we could become certified relationship coaches, co-coaches. And we recently, we wrote a book that will be self-publishing. And so just trying to be a positive, real life influence for those who want to have a happy, healthy relationship.
Yeah. I absolutely love it, because you guys, this has also become a mission for you, not just
let's talk about some things, but this has become a mission. What made it change into like, this is now a mission and a purpose? Because I feel like that falls within a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, it's, like I said before, just seeing all the negative talk about relationships and how people are not staying together. And I'm a realist. So I'm always like, I know there's always, the information that's put out there, but there's a reality. So I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to be a promoter of lasting, healthy relationships. And I just got tired of seeing all this negativity. People are not staying together. Everybody's cheating on each other.
Right.
But the thing is, people need to understand that once you really get down to who you really are and are willing to share who you really are with your partner, that's when things open up.
Right.
But so many people are dealing with things on the surface. So, that was kind of my drive,
That's beautiful. So for me, he's the nice one. But all of that, but we enjoyed what we were doing.
Yep.
And then the motivation comes from people who are supporting us and who are getting something from it. And as we started to explore different ways that we could do that, it just kind of formed. And the idea of being able to help others and do something you enjoy doing and make that your living, that's like that sweet spot.
Right.
We're older and getting to the point where we're supposed to be planning for the next phase in life. And so if we could get to the next phase a little earlier, but still be able to give of whatever gifts we have, that would be good. That would be good.
Awesome. Okay, so let's dive in. I want to start because most people don't even get to marriage because we're going to start with expectations, and I love to talk about expectations.
Right.
And I do agree with you guys on the podcast stuff of just putting the information, the low numbers. I've had my podcast for a few years now, and it's the same thing. Most you see is a bunch of negativity that spike and viral and all of those things.
Right.
But I'm someone who refuses to do the clickbait stuff. We're going to talk about real issues, and the people that'll get it, right? But one thing I see tons, like over and over and over, is that first even dating error with expectations.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I'm not just going to blame women. Women are right now, they're being you got to make 400K and all of this other crazy stuff, right?
Yep.
And then you got the guys that's over here like, oh, you can't have more than one kid and this, that, and the third. And it's like, where are the expectations? Like, why?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
And I, if I had any of those rules in place, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
But we were young, we're still learning. And I think that there have been a lot of changes in society where our children's generation and down, they have access to so much. And so there's a lot of knowledge that they have. What they miss oftentimes is the wisdom that goes along with it.
Yeah.
And so when you operate in that knowledge, it's like, yeah, you're telling me, like, I may be an entrepreneur and I have my business doing X, Y, and Z. So I need a man who's going to match that.
Right.
But has anyone explained to you that business doing X, Y, and Z may support you in your life right now, but as you get older and you need benefits and you need these other things,
Right.
or that man that makes 200,000-400,000, he might be a butthole. He might, and it may not even be anything that he may not physically harm you. He may not even emotionally harm you, but he may be the type that when you go out into public, he embarrasses you because how he treats other people, or, so there's things like that you have to take into consideration.
Right.
And one thing, like we were speaking beforehand, we're in the South. you can make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 and support a family and have a nice, comfortable life.
Right.
So where is it that you need?
Right,
What are your bills? What are you doing in life that you need $400,000 to be happy?
Right.
Because that's a whole nother issue. So I think that the access to information, but that lack of wisdom comes in. And also, a lot of times there's not, you don't have real life models in your life to see.
True.
It doesn't take all of that to be happy, you know?
Exactly.
You know what? I felt like this switch it, and I'm all for entrepreneurs. You know, I left the workforce in 2020. I haven't gone back. I've been doing my own thing. I'm all for being an entrepreneur if you want to, you know, but it's kind of like this ego came into it, like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm better than the working class. And it's like, wait.
Right. And that's where, because that's what we're aspiring to be. We are aspiring to get to the point within the next few years that we are full-time entrepreneurs. We're self-employed. So we're not knocking that. It's just, like you said, like there's also nothing wrong with the individual who wants to stay at their 9 to 5 and who wants to, you know, I think, like you said, that there's an arrogance that comes along with it. Ambition is one thing, but what you are ambitious about doesn't necessarily mean that another person has to have that same, you know, desire and drive.
Right.
And another thing about, you know, having that high earner, you know, a lot of them put themselves, a lot of females I see talk about, you know, I want a man to make 6 figures, 6 feet, 6 inches, or whatever the terminology is now. But like, people don't think about the reality. And the reality is, okay, let's say you meet this guy. He's taking care of you, all your needs are met. You able to sit home and do nothing for, let's say, 10 years. And all of a sudden his health starts to fail. He can't get out there and produce like he used to. So what are you going to do? What steps are you willing to take?
Are you still going to like him?
Exactly, yeah. Find somebody else at 6 figures, you know.
Right. I truly believe that the people that have created this mindset that a person has to make a certain amount before you'll even look at them. You're not looking for a partner. You're looking for a sugar daddy or a sugar mama. Like that. Like, let's be clear. You're not looking for a partner. You're looking for someone to take care of you.
A lot of times it's the same people, the same types of people who will say, I'm a boss bee and I'm handling my things, but I need a man who makes X, Y, and Z. Well, which is it going to be? Are you going to be independent or are you going to be kept? Which one is it going to be? So there's a confusion, I think, when it comes to relationships in general. Like you said, you're not looking for a mate. You're looking for something different. We were young and inexperienced in life when we got together. So in some ways, you know, our thought process is skewed when it comes to relationships because there are limits and boundaries and things like that you should have in place. But for us, you know, when we started dating, and I say that because we were friends for years. We were both still living at home. I had just moved back from college, hadn't finished college yet, but had moved back from college. And we started seeing each other. And that was January of 1997. And by December of 1997, we were married with our firstborn. So I couldn't put any limitations on him because I had them, you know. We both came from home to move in together and to start to build together.
I still don't think, even if you are someone who has finished and has a degree and all of those beautiful things, because that's your road, that's your life, that's what you've worked, right? What does that have to do with the other person who said, you know what, maybe school wasn't for me, or maybe, you know, that road wasn't for me. Maybe I'm good at where I'm at. Maybe I'm okay with clocking in and out and I can come home. And and be with you. And I'm like, when did we say that that's a problem? That person, oh, you're not ambitious enough because you chose that that's better for you. Like,
Right.
like I feel like that's where we have this judgment. And I'm not gonna say we because not me, but
right.
I had to learn this too, because I will say that I used to have that judgment until I transferred over to the entrepreneur world.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time in my life that I had ever gone over that 100,000 a year. And the time and effort that I had to put in, I had no time for dating or family.
Right.
So it's like, okay, someone who's doing this, they don't have time for you.
Right.
Yep.
So when are you actually going to see this person? And that's the reason I stepped back in 2022. I kind of sold my crystal business and I kind of stepped back and I was just like, is this what I really want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Is this how I really want to work? Because I'm not enjoying life. All I'm doing is working and serving.
Right.
And when you have that, you're looking at it, you're like, wait a minute, why would you want someone who's constantly got to work? If you bring a family into it, when does this person get to be a father or a mother if all they're doing is chasing this career? Then that child is lacking now,
Right.
And then you have to think about it like, 30, 40 years ago, people were happy and taking care of their families and living prosperous off of 30, 35,000 a year.
Right.
And now we have this notion that 100 is the mark.
Right.
I can tell you, I'm one who doesn't have a college degree. I landed a job, and on my job, I make 100,000 or more than 100,000 a year now. But I work a lot of overtime with that, and it took me, 12 years to get to that point where I saw over 100,000. Now, I would love to be able to just take care of my family off of 60 and still be on vacation, still to do the things that we like to do. You know what I'm saying? So people just have to look at that bar and say, okay, what portion, where do I want to land on this bar? For myself,
I think another aspect that comes into play is social media. And how we can curate these lives.
Right.
And so
all fake.
Right. So you put these things out and so then all of a sudden now I might be subconsciously where I just had one person to keep up with because my friend, I might be keeping up with my friend, but now I have all these people that I'm trying to keep up with. Our daughter, bless her little heart. She was telling us a couple of years back, she's 22 now, and she was saying, I need to move out. I need to have my own place. I have friends who have their own place and they've had their own place. At the time, she's like 19 or 20. I told her, I said, if you have a friend who is your age, who's on their own, doing it all themselves, there's dysfunction somewhere. Because at 19 and 20, you're still learning. And if you have a support system, you're not doing it all yourself. So either they're lying when they put it out there like they're doing it themselves. I said, and they have help that you just don't know about. And she said, well, a couple of them sell drugs. Ma'am, that's not what we want. We don't want to pattern our lives.
That whole fast money thing is a problem, especially in the younger generations I see. And it's just like, that's not really the life that you want. That's not really the person that you want. There's so much that goes into that. And then the mess up your name, your life, your home, because eventually you're going to lose it.
Yes, definitely.
Eventually something's going to happen where you're going to lose all of that stuff and that little lifestyle that you think is that fast money. That's why all the OnlyFans, that have come up in the world. It's like, yeah, that fast money may seem good, but most of those people aren't even making good money on it.
Right.
What are you really doing? What do you really think? And to me, I'm like, whatever you do, you could justify it in the moment, but after a while, it's going to take its toll.
Right.
It's going to hit you, and that soul level stuff is going to come, and you'll be sitting there with the shame and the guilt and the, why am I still alone? Why am I not doing? I can't do this, and it all boils down to these choices. I try to tell people all the time, like, there's nothing wrong with someone who works at Home Depot. There's nothing wrong with the gas station attendant. There's nothing wrong. I heard a I heard one girl that was like, if you work for like the city or if you work,
Yes.
she was named. I'm like, to
We
me,
saw it.
the
We
job
saw
is named,
that.
that's a good job. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And those used to be the jobs that you wanted to have, or you wanted your person to have, because you knew there was stability, you knew there were benefits.
Right.
So that the mentality has changed so much.
Yeah.
And it makes you, like, as parents, I look at some of the things and I'm like, did we give too much of this and not enough of that? Like where was that split?
Yeah.
But there again, social media and being exposed to so much of this curated lifestyle that people put out there, it just, all of that comes together, and here we are.
Right.
Exactly.
I do feel like the generations, especially the ones that came after us, were the less that they had to do, because we were all like, we want to make you have a better life for you.
Right.
But that did bite a lot of us in the ass, because
Yes, absolutely.
struggle creates character, you
Right.
know. And when you're just given everything and handed everything,
Right.
then the mindset is like, I'm entitled to all of these things.
Right.
Go ahead.
Oh, that entitlement.
It's funny. I just had a coworker of mine tell me a story where his child recently had a birthday, and she wanted a new phone, iPhone 15, and when she opened her gift up and saw she had some nice, I don't know, $150 headphones, she had that look of disappointment on her face.
Right.
You know, and it's like, you know, these kids are not just, when you give them so much and you constantly giving, there's no expectation. So when you finally get them something that you feel is presentable,
Right.
like, man, I worked hard for this, and they're just like, to have that disappointed look on their face, and it's like,
Right.
well, what do you do? You taught them that, you know.
Yeah.
And then
And
in everything just
right.
because, you know.
And like you said, we had good intentions with it.
Yep.
But it's hard to find a point of balance.
Right.
Yeah.
I know with me, I was the only child that my parents had together, and I the idea of working to earn the things I wanted, that I didn't grow up like that. And when we did finally get together, and I mean, I went to school, I had an apartment, my mom paid the bills, my grandmother paid the rent, my mom was paying my car payment and the insurance. So I went to school, I worked part-time, and my money was my money to do with what I wanted. Drive home, I was about an hour and a half away from home. I'd drive home, get money. I'd go see my dad, my grandmother. I'd get money, go back, so that I had partying money outside of my money that I'm earning. And so when we got together, like, I was lost then, because my mom was like, "You're a mom now." I'm not. Now, she did over and above for our children,
Right.
but for me, that was it.
Uh-huh.
And so we still are dealing with learning how to properly handle our money,
Right.
and how to, like, we are still in that phase. So we've tried to, anytime we learn something, we try to hurry and give it to our kids, because we're behind the mark with teaching them certain things, and we don't want them to be in the same position that we're in at this point in life, where we're still learning how to do these things. But it's hard to find that balance.
Yeah. I think they need their own struggle. I'm a firm believer in it, where we all have our lessons, and as much guidance, we can be the guidance and support for them, but we can't take away those lessons, because you're walking around, again, knowledge, right? Because you look at it all day. Someone could be book smart all day long and have zero street smarts, right?
Oh man,
it's so hard though. It's so hard to watch the struggle.
It
is. I have with my daughter. She's 27 now, and I had to get to a point where it was just like, oh no, we have to change something. I've created a monster. Like, I've created a monster, And it's just like, nope. I remember, like, I think she was what? I think 8 at one point. And literally one day I came home from work and I didn't have anything with me. And she was like, where's my stuff? And I was like, what do you mean my stuff? She got so used to me always bringing her something.
Yeah.
And that was her first thing, was like, where's my, and I was like, excuse me, you're what? Oh no, we got to change.
Oh yeah. Well, that's, we were talking at work the other day about how, like, we were growing up, when we were coming up, I'm the youngest of 10. So like I was considered spoiled, but my dad still made me, work for things, to get money, had chores. I had to do things around the house. I had to cut grass and things like that. So we were just talking about how, like, going to like McDonald's back in the 80s, that was like a special thing. Did that on a Friday. And now these kids, a trip to McDonald's is nothing to them. You know what I'm saying?
DoorDash at McDonald's.
Right.
Coming up, that's what we did because, we had practices, we had, recitals. So, you grab some McDonald's and then go to practice.
Right.
Before you're getting home at 8:30 at night, and then it's too late. You know what I'm saying? So we were just talking about that and how different it is for them versus us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that could be why the expectations the way it is.
Right, because they're used to it.
Yeah. Society makes you feel like you're bad because your kids are not involved in these things. If they're not doing basketball, if they're not doing all these different activities, well, you're just a bad parent. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I believe in the activities to keep them busy. I feel kids get bored, they get into trouble,
Oh, yes, definitely.
I was a kid that didn't have activities. We got into a lot of trouble, So it's like, I do believe in keeping them busy, but you have to make that time,
There has to be a balance.
There has to be a balance.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that when I look at our parenting, I'm like, somewhere the balances they were off with some of the things.
Yeah.
I enjoy them now that they're adults, and I get to be guidance. I get to offer advice when asked.
Yeah.
And I think that we have created a relationship, and it started when they were young, so they feel comfortable with us.
Right.
Sometimes too comfortable.
Right. Gosh, right.
Look, it's comfortable when my daughter turned 21. The very first thing I noticed, I said, because she still lives with us, which I mean, I was never wanted to be the type of parent that just be like, I'm gonna hover over them and just watch everything they do. So she came out. She said, Dad, it's okay if I bring some liquor in the house. So that's fine. I mean, for you, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, ever since then, she keeps a bottle of Peach Crown sitting on her nightstand, and she be like, Dad, you want to take a shot with me? I'm like, now years ago, I'd probably be like, nah, I'm not taking no shot with my child.
Yeah.
Just the fact that she is wants to share that with us. And that's part of life, because it's a part of life, whether if it's
it is.
Drinking alcohol, whatever it is, it's a part of life. And I want her to get through that phase where it's not important as it is now.
Right.
Okay? So my thing is, if I have to take a shot with her every now and then,
if you have to, like she forces you.
I think that whole hovering and over trying to control your kids is gonna always backfire.
Always.
I let my daughter not be super free, but I let her do things to where even when she was in high school, she would be texting me like, please say no when I get there. And her friend would be with her. And so when they come in, her friend would be like, can she? And I'd be like, nope, not tonight. My daughter already texted me like, please tell her no.
Yeah.
Because you let them do and they experience and you're like, yeah, no, I don't want to. I don't want to be. I don't want to be out. I don't want to do this.
Right.
Even to when she did get old enough to drink and stuff like that, she didn't like it. So it was just like that. I don't want to do it. Don't like how I feel, and it wasn't a big thing compared to where I've seen some of the kids in the family who was like that over control and they're like wilding out.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
I always fall somewhere in the middle of that.
I've seen, like I said, I'm the youngest of 10, so I've seen all the aspects of that with these nephews, those ones who were hovered over, had control, and now they're just like, and I'm looking at them now on social media, I'm like, hey man, you better text my nephew, like, hey man, you might want to calm that down a little bit. I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but God, no.
Right.
But I know where it comes from,
Yeah. So, all right, I know we kind of went off just a little bit. I love it though. I want to come back to, so for the people who are like, I want to be married, I want to find my partner, I want to look at both aspects, if you're female or male, looking for your person, what should really be your idea of, I want to find a person? How should you really be going about this to find your person?
So I for one, don't agree with having opposite sex friends, because we were friends until we were not.
Right.
And that, we feel like, is the most important part of our relationship, is our friendship.
Yes.
Right.
And so if you think about your best friend and the feeling you get when you're with your friend, when you all hang out and there's no pressure, you're just yourself. That's how we feel around each other. And so we would tell anyone to cultivate a friendship.
Right.
Love comes easy. You fall in love with somebody and you have all the feeling, but like does not. And like is what makes it okay to wake up next to the same person over and over again. Right. And so our thing is you have to like the person that you're with and cultivate that friendship.
Exactly. Definitely.
I agree with that, because there are so many people that do not like each other and they have horrible relationships. Right. You can tell that they don't like each other.
You can tell. And that's one thing that people will say about us is y'all really like each other. And we do. We, just like with your friend, you have inside jokes. That's how we are. People will tell you have to schedule date nights and you have to keep the romance going. That puts a level of pressure there.
Yeah, it does.
And makes you feel like it has to look a certain way.
Right.
But it's nothing for us we're sitting watching Dateline, analyzing, why is this man going from I don't like her to I want to kill her? Like, we cultivate the friendship and it's a lot less pressure. And you get more enjoyment. We enjoy each other.
And it makes it easier as far as like, not having the pressure on what we're going to do. I mean, it's nothing for us to come home and what you want to do. Let's watch TV. Watch TV. Or get in the car. I want to go to such and such and look at this item there at the store. We enjoy that time hanging out with each other.
Right.
It just takes out, like, we don't have date nights. It's just what you do tomorrow. Because a date could be in the middle of the week.
Right.
Be on a Sunday. A date could be on a Monday. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
it comes from like a lack of the interest, right? Like two people, and I know the falling in love real quick, and that romantic rose-colored glasses kind of feel, and then all of a sudden you're with this person that you don't really know,
right?
That you guys don't really have a lot in common, and that's why you're at the point of like, oh well, we need a date night, or we need something to, awaken us. Because I'm like, what I hear people talking about, especially we'll go on this topic real quick because I talked about it before, where you hear a lot of people far sexually in their marriage or their relationship, and like, oh, it dies, right? And it's just like, well, why?
Right.
Why does that happen? Because I feel if you really love your person and you have that relationship, you're always going to have that attraction to them.
Right.
Or after a couple years, and now it's like, oh, this is a chore,
Right.
Yes.
How do you guys feel about that?
So we've had ups and downs, especially when we had little ones. I have been through a lot and had to realize those things and get to a point of healing from my past. And so those things affected us. But one of the things that we constantly say to each other is, after we're done, they must be doing it wrong. Because like you said, like y'all aren't doing something right, because this should not be a chore.
Right.
And we get it. We get that it's an up and down. It's an ebb and flow.
Of course.
Especially depending on where you are in life. But when you have genuine feelings and you want to connect with your person, it should never be a chore. It should never, there was a post a while back that we talked about, where the woman said that she was engaged, and it was a long-term engagement. They were long distance. And as it comes closer to being married, she's concerned because he doesn't give her stimulating conversations.
Yeah.
How are you engaged?
Well, and then what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like what types of conversations are, because maybe I'm just not deep, and maybe I just don't understand. But we look for these things to nitpick about, when if you are having second thoughts, just pause it. Just stop. Just think about where you are, where he is, and if you want to move forward. But don't start making up problems. Like I said, if you think about your best friend, I'm pretty certain that person has never looked at her best friend and said, you know what, her conversations just are not stimulating me. We don't do those things.
I was going to say, I think that goes into the facade, what people think a partner is. This person is supposed to be like, oh, I'm going to entertain you, and I'm going to, you're putting all of your happiness into the other person. And that's one of the biggest issues people do, is put it all on the other person. Like, well, you're not satisfying me. You're not making me happy. And it's like, wait, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
You're not even creating it within yourself. You have it all on this person, and now they're the blame.
Right.
Creating self accountability. And just like, we have expectations, I think when it comes to sex, there's expectations.
Definitely.
But there are things that, you like, or, if you guys communicate and say, hey, I like this, I like that,
I don't like this. Right.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean that, for the guys, they might be like, I'm just going to use this as an example. I don't too particularly care for it, but some guy might be like, oh, hey, I want to try anal. Do you like anal? She may be like, no, I don't want anal. But that's not the end of the world.
Right. And that's not a rejection of
create some level of comfort with her.
Right.
That means down the line, she might, I really love him. I really like him. I might want to try it just to please him.
Right.
But, people are so impatient. They want what they want now.
Right.
It's like sometimes you just have to work on building a relationship to get that comfort level up with the other individual, so they can say, I'm willing to do this for you.
Right.
And then the not taking things personal.
Yes, that too.
One thing so people say communication is key. Talk and listen. So the two parts, you speak and then you listen. And so if I come to you and say, I don't like this, it's not I don't like you, it's that I don't like this particular act. And instead of taking it, as she doesn't like me, no, you take it for what it is. And that comes from comfort also. The more comfortable you are with a person, the more open you can be with them. So there again, in those times when you are sitting on the couch, or you go out and you're going to dinner or whatever, those are the times to get comfortable, to get to know each other. So during those times when it's more intimate, you can say no, or not this, or I don't like this, or let's try that, and not bring all the extra stuff in.
And another thing what makes it good is just knowing, when you communicate that, hey, I'm cool with, I don't need an hour. 30 minutes is good for me. You know what I'm saying? And when you touch me on that, then that takes the pressure away. You know what I'm saying?
Well, a I always tell women, a lot of y'all got some delusional expectations about sex.
Right.
One, you guys it's gonna be hours and hours.
Every hour, every night. Come on.
One, and women, I always blast women out on this because I'm like, y'all not even doing all the work. So you can request an hour all you want to, but you're not the one putting in the work for the hour.
Yeah.
So
yes, I gotta
come back to a compromise.
I gotta work 12 hours. You could want me to come on and put an hour in every night.
Right. I was like, what happened to quickies? What happened to just let's compromise? Let's get a quickie in real quick. You know, boom, we got this.
I can tell you at 48, it ain't gonna happen every night.
I do believe people need to have this conversation before marriage. This should be right along with politics and how you're going to raise those children and all of those things that are really serious, because if two people aren't at least remotely sexually compatible, that's going to be a problem down the line.
Right.
Absolutely. You need leather and chains. At some point, you're going to want those leather and chains. And if the other person's is like, that's a no for me.
Right.
And also, it can change throughout time, you know. The more like I said, the more comfortable you get. Like, no doesn't mean no forever. That just means no right now because I'm not comfortable with this. But as you invest in each other, as you invest that time and you have these conversations, there's that window of opportunity at some point in time down the road. But it's just, you know, just being comfortable to say, hey, you know what, I don't need that right now at this point in time.
Right.
But can we talk about this, you know, in the future?
Right. And can you be okay if it's a no forever?
Right.
Yeah, right. You talk about it in the future. Yeah, that's good. I'm cool with that.
Right. It's like, and it might be a no forever.
No forever. And that's, and if our relationship is dependent upon that issue, then we need to go ahead and one of the things that I've seen when women are told, you know, you need money to sit aside just in case something happens.
Yeah.
That I've struggled with that because initially I was told that. Right. And I said, no, I'm good. I'd rather put the energy into my relationship. Right. And I've heard people and I've met people and realized that maybe some people did need to prepare just in case. But then I realized if you feel like you need to prepare, it's probably because deep down inside, there's some red flags you're not paying attention to, and you probably don't need to marry this person.
Yep.
And
I believe it.
Right. And I think that we need to be okay with, like, none of us are here to fix anyone other than ourselves.
Right.
And it is perfectly all right to love someone and have feelings for someone and not want to be with them.
Definitely.
So that's something that I'm learning here lately when I see things posted, and you know, a lot of times it just seemed very cynical to me.
Right.
But then I realized,
you know, a lot of that comes from a time when women didn't have the ability, they didn't have their own accounts, or they didn't have their own money, or you know, because a lot of people don't realize women just started even being able to have a bank account in like the 70s, right?
So 70s, yep.
Everything was in the man's name, credit cards, all of that stuff, right? So that comes from the generations of old where women didn't have any of that. That's not today. This is 2024. We can walk in the bank, we can open up an account, we're okay. But I do also feel like if you took your time again to get to know this person and build that relationship and that friendship, because I'm very strong on you need a friendship with that person,
right?
Yes.
You wouldn't need that emergency fund to get away from them. I trust and believe. I'm like, then they're showing you signs, and you know to the core of you, this is the person you should be with, but you're going to do it for the facade of I have somebody.
Right. Or
be with someone than be alone, you know?
So I can't walk away just because of this.
Right. Once you tie yourself to the material life and all of those other things, and you're sitting in a shitty relationship because the money and this, because I've heard that's a lot of reasons people stay together. And I'm like, I do a lot of relationship kind of coaching and stuff. And one of the things I'm like is don't tell yourself the lies of what you're staying for. Be honest with yourself of what you're staying for. It's not the kids. It's not the kids. What do you
Right? Because kids know. I'm here to tell you, as one of the kids, we know. Please get away from each other. I was so pleased when my mom said that final time, we're leaving, and this time I'm not coming back. I didn't know where we were going, but I packed and I was ready. I was just waiting for the day. So the kids know.
Yeah, they know.
And you can't worry about disappointing your family or your friends because you're planning and you've been proposed to and all. You can't worry about that. If you have second thoughts, if you feel the need to prepare just in case, don't say I do. It's not the time. Not saying that's not the person. It may be the person, but right now it's not the time because there's something that needs to be, when, like I said, we had been friends for so long that, if something happened during one of those moments where I wasn't working and I was a stay-at-home mom, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he would not have tried to do me dirty in any way if we split up. So that type of trust, that type of understanding comes from getting to know each other and being honest if there are any doubts. And if we ever got to the point where I felt like something was up or something was wrong, you best believe do we need to talk about something? Is this something you need to tell me?
and also, you can pay attention to the signs in the beginning. Simple things like, when y'all were dating, if the Negro washed his car every week and they ain't touch your car for a month, he don't care about your car being clean. That's a damn flag right there.
I don't know what it is about men and clean cars. But
it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Or just checking on your car, like, he's not concerned about, you get your oil change, things like that. And, those are those, because that's what's going to be like when you say I do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Well, you're responsible for your own thing. So that's your car. You're paying for it. Crazy. So, I'm the man and I'm supposed to expect you to go to the dealership and get screwed over. How's that? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I remember I was talking to this person and we were in the very early stages of anything, but I remember my battery died and I was like, hey, you got cables? And it was like, no. And then that was that.
Oh,
see that?
If he ain't got no jump,
figure it out.
But even if he didn't have, because everything's not for everyone. So even if he didn't have them,
he didn't even try to go see if there was a car.
Well, let me go see if I get some, or let me get somebody who can.
Buy you some.
So
I feel like someone's going to show you really early on, even if they're pretending, because you can't pretend for too long, right? They're going to show you how important you are or how much they care. And those little details, I think, are showing you, like, because your well-being is always going to be like, this person really truly cares how you're doing, not just, what we're doing on date night and when we hooking up and those kind of things. Anybody could spend money on you. That doesn't mean that they love you.
Now, and this woman to tell you, in 26 years, 20 or 30 years, how many times have you washed your car? Not one time. And she don't even have to be worried about it half the time. I pull up and I'll be like, ain't that thing dirty because it's a white car. And I'll take it to the car wash if I'm too lazy to wash it myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just in that one instance right there. That's the flag to watch for, ladies.
Right. Have you guys seen the list that, and I don't know if women created this list of where not to take a woman for a first date?
Oh yeah.
There again, we wouldn't be sitting here because between Applebee's and IHOP and the Waffle House.
No
movement.
What the hell we gonna do?
When did it switch that these are nice places? I love Applebee's. They got some really good food.
They have cheap drink specials too.
They got happy hour.
Right. Or the ice cream day.
Factory.
Right.
Can't go to Cheesecake Factory.
The ice cream day.
Ice cream.
And
you
I'm
can't
like,
go to the
that's
movies.
cute.
No walks in the park. What the hell are we supposed to do there?
Everything has to be 5-star restaurants and
Let me
all
tell
of
you,
this craziness, VIP, and
I'm telling you.
one of them that I saw that got it just threw me off. She said, I hate to be on a date and a man asked me what I do for a living.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that is weird because
yeah,
if I'm sitting at a bar or in the grocery store and there's small talk, that's a small talk question. Well, what do
right.
you do?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
You know, and here it is, you're dating someone who you apparently feel has potential for a relationship and you don't want them to ask you what you do.
And
right.
then here's some comments on a red flag, girl. I hear you.
Right. They were all, and I'm like, what? And so then somebody said, ask me where I like to vacation, what wine I drink, what type of books I read. Ma'am, we all are not that cultured. What do you mean? Where I like to, like, the concept of going on vacation, sure, but where I vacation,
35th talk there. I mean,
Who is taking you to Bora Bora on your first date?
right? Or what kind of wine, ma'am? My wine comes from Kroger. So
you know
I don't
what,
know
though?
that that's impressive.
The problem is you got enough jokers out there that's got enough, and guys got enough low self-esteem that they do that shit on the first date.
Right.
Messes their expectations up.
Yeah, I tell guys all the time, you guys gotta see, how is this woman treating you? Because women show you that they like you. There's just things that they do,
Exactly.
you know, and we are very touchy feely. We're gonna let you, even if it's a kiss on the cheek or touching your arm, we're gonna let you know we're interested in some way. Don't gotta be all graphic, but you know it's gonna be there. Eye contact. You gotta pay attention because women, literally, these women, especially the ones like that don't want the Starbucks date, because I'm like, let's sit down and coffee. You have to talk.
Right. You talk, you get to know each other.
Conversation.
Because if you start out in the vineyards, where is there to go?
Well, I feel like those are all the people, again, that social media life. So I just want to go so I could take pictures and put it on the internet and act like I'm just, getting flued out.
And I'm wondering, what kind of
I gotta buy you a plane ticket?
What kind of upbringing did you have that made you think that this is normalized?
Let's just be real. Half of them is hood rats.
Oh my!
Against hood rats. Half of them is hood rats. We ain't grew up with nothing in the first place.
Oh my!
Now you have all these expectations as an adult.
If that's your expectations, then you're going on that line of putting a money sign on what's between your legs. And I never liked the women who did that and had that. That's what they would voice, like, you don't know what's between your legs. And I'm like, that should be the last thing you should be thinking about, of how to pull somebody in, because it's damn sure not going to keep the person.
Right.
No.
Now, there's a time and place for everything. And sometimes, like, if you feel that that's what you value, cool. Right. But when it comes to a relationship, you can't lead with that. No. You can't lead with that. Our oldest, I remember and this was my fault because I shouldn't have read it, but I found a note or her something, and I read it, and some guy that she had been messing with, she said he told her that hers was the best he ever had. And I had to explain to her, baby, he can get the same outcome with his left or right hand.
Yep.
So there is nothing special that you're doing. Yep. So if that's what you lead with, then you don't have much. But I often wonder, like, how were you raised that you feel like this is the standard? Somebody has to impress you in this way.
Right.
And then sometimes it's that you were not raised in a situation where you experienced a loving couple.
Yeah.
And so you are taking all these bits and pieces and putting it together to create what you believe a relationship should look like. And it goes back to those unrealistic expectations.
Right.
Because the real of it is the day-to-day, the Monday through Sunday grind.
Mm-hmm.
What type of wine I drink. If you can't purchase it at the Kroger, then I might run out and not have it when I need it. Because he can't always fly it in. Like, you have to think about the reality.
You can't import everything. Some things you're going to have to get locally.
Right. It's like I think that the whole dating scene is just a chaotic mess, because I'm like, that's not reality, and you can't keep that up throughout a relationship, because of course you have the monotony, the day-to-day, the things that you know, the normal stuff that it's going to happen. You're not going to have excitement every day, and that's one of the biggest things is people are like, it's not exciting no more. Well, that was the wrong way to get into this relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, wanting it to be exciting every day, because now once again this person, no, you're not exciting anymore.
Right.
Who said marriage and relationships, especially long term, are going to be exciting every day?
Right.
Exciting every day.
And that's, you know, we can't equate excitement with like the only good that comes from it is excitement.
Right.
Because there are so many other pieces that are so good, that are nice and calm.
I tell you what I need. What I need
Right.
more is, like, if I'm at work and I get a phone call and they say, we need you to pay this bill at the bank by, I don't know, 5 o'clock, and I get off at 7. I need to be able to call you and be like, hey, can you go take care of this for me, please?
And that's the excitement.
that's the reality. You know what I'm saying?
Get there.
Those type of situations. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's everyday life. You know.
Right. Right.
So and you know, so earlier today we sat. This is his first day off this week. So this is first day we've had together. We didn't get up early and try to do all the things before it was time to record. We sat on our screen porch until he finally told me, see what time it is. And we talked. We had a little argument.
Discussion. A huge discussion about
we had a little argument
about perception, how she perceived my behavior was,
or how you perceived mine, but whatever.
We still fight. Yeah.
And it was, in fact, it's funny because we were testing out another platform for recording. And so we have a little spat that's recorded. And he said, we need to release that and tell them, see? But that type of thing, and I'm not mad right now. And we move past it. And so that's the real of it. That's what real life looks like. So why would I, on my first date, explore the places I vacation and the wines and all these other things when the real of it is I need to be able to have a conversation with you. We need to be able to disagree and still come out together on the other side.
Right.
You know, we need to be able to see those good qualities in each other, even when your behavior may not be as good.
People have good and bad days.
When shit hits the fan, we ain't gonna be discussing who's gonna clean it up. Let's just clean it up together.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things people fall into. It's like they're against each other instead of you tackling the problem together.
Right.
Going at each other, and the blame game, that's all through other traumas and things like that, instead of like, okay, this is an issue, how can we attack it together?
Another thing that, and it's hard because you have to take a look at yourself and accept accountability. You have
to the people in the back.
Right. You have to heal yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be healed. And so when we got together, I didn't realize the depths of what I had gone through and how it affected me. And there was a point in time where I could not allow him to initiate touch. And this was any touch, even with my kids. And that's one of my biggest regrets, is that I had not gotten help and healed before having kids, because there were times when my kids would come up to me to touch me and I would move back. And I just can't imagine what that does to a child when their mom does that. But I have, with and without therapy, I have grown, I have healed. My first consultation, when I started therapy, I was telling her, you know, I just want better discipline. I want to be able to eat better and do these things. And about 3 sessions in, she said, I just can't believe that you contacted me over wanting to eat better. Because the more we dug through things, it was like there was a lot there. But on the flip side of that, I commend him because he had to get to a point to where he realized that it wasn't him. I wasn't lashing out at him, or I wasn't moving because of him. It was because of something I had gone through.
Right.
And also, once she was able to explain things to me and tell me these things happen, it gave me the why. Okay, so it's not me, it's this situation. So now I understand how to maneuver now. So it gave me a different way of maneuvering around her, because touch is no big thing to me. We can touch all the time. You know what I'm saying? But if I know she has an issue with it, then I know how to approach her. It's not just walking up on her and scaring her. I'm not doing that 5 times a day either.
And this process took time. And that's another important thing. So for years in the beginning, he knew touching, kissing, those types of things had to be my call. And it wasn't frequent. It was not frequent. But as I grew, as I got comfortable, as I started to let down walls, then I opened up to him. It was years into our marriage before I fully explained to him what I had gone through. It was years into our marriage before I didn't think repressed memories were real until I was vacuuming and they came back.
Right.
So that took years for him. And so for years, he had to remind himself and tell himself it's not me.
Right.
She's not doing this to me. I don't know what she's going through, but there's something.
Right.
And it was last July when the very final bit of wall came down. And that was 25 years into marriage.
Right.
And so for 25 years, I've been guarded in some way or another with him. And I think that it's a blessing that we were still able to thrive and grow throughout it all.
Right.
But think about the patience. I don't know if I would have had it.
Right.
I don't know if I would have had it. Now, I will say that throughout that time, I don't think that I mistreated him or it was simply me inside my brain holding things back.
It wasn't a physical or mental mistreatment or anything. It was, like an example would be, sex. I would want sex, and after sex, she wouldn't want to cuddle or anything. But at first, I'm like, well, then after a while, it's like, well, damn, she don't even like get off me.
Right.
So a dude can take so much of that and be like, well, damn. Man, feeling like I'm a customer. Like I'm a client. But
house over there.
Knowing where that comes from.
Thank you for your time.
Knowing where that
it was my pleasure.
Right.
But knowing where that comes from, it made me understand, okay, that's not the reason.
Right.
It's funny because the first time we did have sex and she wanted me to hold her, and I was like, she want this? Okay, good.
Who is this? Is this really her?
She opened it up.
This is what healing looks like.
She opened it up. All right.
It's crazy that, nowadays, I feel like people have so much more accessibility to ways to heal, right? Whether you go holistically, whether you go traditionally, faith-based, whatever it is, there's so many more avenues to heal. It's more talked about. It's more normal, of course, versus 20 years ago. And even when I'm talking about this and telling people, like, you don't have to wait for a tragedy to happen to heal, right? Because sometimes there's just these little things that have happened in our life that are sitting in the subconscious and we don't know about it. And then depending on how we react to certain situations or how we perceive and project out onto others, awareness, I feel like, is number one to come to that place. Just becoming aware of yourself, aware of how you do things, how you react to situations, how you, and then it'll lead you to like, wait a minute, I'm reacting in this way. It's bringing up this emotion. Oh man, where is this coming from? You know?
Right.
It'll lead you down that rabbit hole to, oh, wait a minute, I didn't even think that was a thing.
Right.
I had to heal.
Exactly.
And I think, I started therapy about 3 years ago. And I think that I had made progress on my own through research, reading, things like that. Right. And so I think that I would have been fine without therapy. But in 3 years, the progress that I've made, it's indescribable.
Right.
So once last year, he went to a couple of sessions, he on his own with a separate therapist. And then we've had a couple of couple sessions with my therapist. And so with him, like you said, there doesn't have to be anything wrong.
Right.
But to have someone who is impartial, who can help you process through certain things.
Yeah.
So for him, he was his dad passed away right before his 48th birthday. His dad's 48th birthday.
Oh wow. So
he was coming up to 48. That was a time of anxiety, and it brought a lot of things. So he went to a few sessions with a therapist. And so to have, I'm a big advocate for mental health wellness.
And everybody needs it.
Right.
Whether it's a coach, whether it's pastor,
or
somebody that you really trust, everybody needs to talk to someone.
Yeah.
Some of these things out, because we all suppress.
Yeah.
Suppression. And I didn't honestly think I needed help before until I actually got there and then I started opening up. And I'm talking about this. I didn't even realize that was an issue.
Right.
Repressed memories,
Right.
And then too, you don't want to dump everything on your partner, your friend, your mom. You don't want to dump things. That's what therapists, that's their job, is for you to go to them, you empty it out, they help you put it back together, and then you move forward so that you're better for yourself, your partner, your kids.
Right.
And so that's one thing that, like I said, I had made progress. We were doing really good, but therapy, it just put it over the top.
Right. Yeah, it's a game changer, because the person, and I do a lot of untraditional. I'm really close to my AA in psychology, so it just goes along with a regression. I'm certified in regression and hypnosis, so it just goes along with the holistic practice that I've been doing. But to me, it's just that other person that is going to tell you some real stuff, and not in a way to demean you, but to get you to see it.
Right.
Yes.
And have those aha moments of self, right? And like, oh, wait, didn't know I was doing this. Didn't know I was saying it like that. Didn't know I was perceiving it. Didn't know it was related to this, that, and the third, right? Because therapy has been made to, like, even like I grew up with parents. They never talked about anything, healing, doctors, anything. We barely went to the doctors.
Right.
So mental health is all like, well, you only go if you crazy,
Right.
Mental health. Not understanding the stress of life. Just the stress of life. And I tell people all the time, you shouldn't put it on your person. They can't be their therapist, and you can't be their therapist.
Right. That's, we come from a time where it was don't tell your business. You don't tell, and we see how that's gotten us. Like I'm not 49 anymore. I'm 50. Oh my God. Sorry. I'm still getting used to it. It's just been 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I'm just getting used to it.
It's only been 19 days, dude.
Because right now I don't even remember. Sometimes I'm like, where am I in this?
It's been funny, because since I was telling somebody this, since I turned 50, he has this level of excitement with that. So anytime birthday comes up or anything, she's 50.
Right.
Why do you keep reminding me?
Because I'm personally looking forward to
Right.
Because
I think
take it. Okay.
I think once you get to like the mid 40s going into 50s, I think it's an underrated time.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people looking at, oh, you're old, but then you are in it and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not as old as I thought I was going to be at this time.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, some body parts might be feeling it, right? But
Yeah, absolutely.
think like, wait a minute, I'm not as old as I thought, and this is a whole new place. Like, this is different. This is heavy different.
It's different with men because he has this little grays coming in, and oh, that's so distinguished, and that's handsome. That's a little gray, right?
I do feel like women need to shift with the, being embarrassed. Like I'm not embarrassed of my age. I have no problem saying my age, my grays. I have no problem with that, and I think it should become normal, where women don't have to be embarrassed to be older.
Let me tell you something. There's nothing. There's nothing.
I just got mine colored.
And I can admit this. There is nothing to me, and it always has been. But there is nothing to me that is more eye-turning than a full head of gray hair.
Yeah,
that's nicely done, and because I'm like, man, that looks attractive. I mean, just that in itself looks attractive. Like,
now, see, we just talked about therapy.
And she looks, we
need to find out.
We
need to find out.
You try to say some old woman touch me?
Something, because he does. He loves elderly women, and they love him.
I mean, it's just something that, like, because I look at it as you have gone through life.
Right.
You have gone through, and I know women go through.
Right. You've earned them stripes.
So when you get to that point, it's like, man, you have went through all of that, and you're here, and you look good. And hats off to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Meanwhile,
accept it.
I had my crown covered earlier this week. Now, I did talk to her, and I'm going to go back on the 2nd to get some highlights, because I am going to start letting it come in.
Right.
It's going to come in on my watch. Not letting it take control. It's not going to take control. I'm going to control how it comes in.
Well, because it's like this perception that, like, once you get these gray hairs, like all of a sudden you're going to look at this old hag, and it's like, no, you're really not, unless you just let yourself completely go. And
that's because you had think about it, like back in the days, the best thing you had was the Betty White going on. You know what I'm saying? You have all these stylists that know how to really make this gray really look good.
Right. You got the young ones trying to rock platinum, so I mean, they're
they can have it. They can have it.
See that little baby
I'm not ready
faces?
for that.
The little baby face, you got some great.
Slow down. I'm not ready for that.
It is. Women we do gotta push to keep getting into that normalizing. When you get to, I think it's the mid 40s to into the 50s and 60s, to normalize that time and not be so embarrassed about that. Like, I've come to a place where I don't wear no makeup. Most I'll put on is a little bit of maybe some mascara. I don't even do the cover up. I'm like, look, take me as I am or don't take me. I'm not sitting here putting a bunch of makeup on my face just for it to smear and be all over. No, not doing it.
I'm there. I'm there.
I'll tell you what's going to be a trick.
But in order for it to all come together, I can't have these little pieces.
I'm going to tell you what's going to be a trip now in the future. I say you give it about 30, maybe 20, maybe 30 years. All these young women, nothing against them, but all these young women getting these BBLs and these breast enhancements, how you going to look at 60 and 70?
I don't know. We looking younger than a lot of these young ones. So
if they make it, you know what I'm saying?
Now that's something that I go back and forth with the makeup.
Right.
Now, when I say back and forth, I will watch them apply makeup, but never, ever, ever have I ever had a makeup regimen like these, these people do now. Even at the height of my makeup, I never did that. But this is usually how I look. Like you said, I might throw on mascara some days. I used to do the eyelash extensions, but there's some boss bees and they start charging too much. So
Well, plus it's a lot. I can't keep them on longer than a day. So I'm not spending all that money just so I tear it off that same day. Not doing it.
Right. And that just became something I couldn't justify anymore. So had to let it go. I might put some mascara on. If I ever learn how to wear the other ones, I might do that. But I look at the makeup and now it shows their age, because our generation, we don't do all that.
We didn't do all of that. We had a little bit of cover up, if that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like eyeliner, mascara, a little bit of maybe eyeshadow.
And
it's catfishing. It's
exactly.
Look, I don't want to meet you, and then meet you and you look just fabulous, and then I come to your house one day to wash your car or something. Woo!
You're a totally different person.
Who was that? I think that's you.
Cleaning my face, like getting that stuff off your face. We did pictures not too long ago, and the girl who does my makeup, she said, I told her, I said, we're doing outside pictures. I said, we're dressing casual. And she said, I got you. I said, I trust you. Do you? And when I tell you, I should have had on an evening gown to match the makeup. She had 2 sets of lashes on my eyes. Yeah. She said, I got excited. Now, I looked at myself in the mirror the whole drive there. The whole drive there, I was taking selfies. I was real cute. But when I got home and had to start taking all that off, I couldn't imagine every night having to take all that stuff off my face.
Right.
Like you said, you go out. We were outside taking pictures. We were in a field of flowers, which means there were bugs. Yep. So I'm like feeling like, you know what I'm saying? But when you look at them, you can tell based on the makeup, oh, you're young. And then you wonder, what is all of that going to do to your skin as you get older? Is it going to have some adverse effects? Because we don't know, because never have we ever.
We don't know.
It on like that. So,
So if they think they're going to look like us, it's not going to happen, because we didn't have all that. We didn't do all that. That wasn't part of the thing. So I'm like,
this girl that when I was in high school, this girl, she's two-tone. Her face would be light and her neck would be dark. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, God,
I remember that.
You know, every single day.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because you dated one that did that went to school with me.
I remember, because it was very hard to even get your shade. It was hard to get the correct shade.
Yeah.
Right.
They only had a couple different ones at the store.
Right.
Look,
you were very pale in the face.
Look, I can't match my own. So it's magical to me if I get my makeup done and they can match it, because I can't match my own.
Right.
And then this is my summer look.
Yep.
So when I go through the metamorphosis and in the wintertime, all this falls off, I have to change all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's too much. Like you said, a little bit of mascara, a little bit of lip gloss if I'm feeling fancy and want a little razzle dazzle.
Right.
And then going about my business. When the lip gloss runs off, that's it.
Keep it
That's
natural.
it.
I think natural is really, I think it's underrated, of course, and we just don't really embrace it. And of course, it's the stigmas and the social media and all that. And I hope people really keep trying to get out of that and find themselves, because it's just, once you get, and I see people that they're dependent on it now. Like they won't go outside without looking a certain way. And it's like, how much time do you got to take to do all this for us to go to the store?
And that's another sign that there may be some healing that needs to happen.
Thank you.
There may
go to the store.
Right. I'll be the first one to admit, me and my hair, we have gone through some things. And I have gotten to the point now where, and especially because I can do my own, it's hard for me and my real hair to get along. However, if I need to go to the store and I don't have hair in and I have my real hair, I'm cool.
Right.
We went out this weekend with my real hair and I was cool. Like, so it's something that I'm aware of. I feel more comfortable when my hair is working with me. But I also am secure enough in myself that if I don't have that crutch, I'm good.
Right.
And that's where that inner healing comes into play. I'm here for, I'm doing this. I'm not going to be seen.
You ain't never heard me say
I know
anything about
I know
where your makeup at.
Right.
I want to see you more the way you're gonna look when we wake up in the morning. That's what I want.
You don't want to get scared.
That's a sign on both sides. If your person is all like, "Oh, you're not gonna get dressed, or you're not gonna do this,"
Right.
it's like, who are we impressing?
Right.
You know? Like, as long as I don't look like a bum.
Right.
We
And
good.
I hit the jackpot with that, because I see people talk about, there was one, and a man posted this, and he said, I work, my wife is a stay-at-home mom, I take care of all the bills. I bought her a nice negligee with the robe, and all I asked, I had a hard day at work, and I called her and told her I wanted her wearing that when I came home. And when I came home, she had the negligee and the robe, but didn't have the correct tie on the robe.
Yeah.
Sir.
So that was your turn off? The tie to the robe?
Yeah. What?
Sir.
What?
That's what you can say. You had a hard day, and her robe had the wrong tie. And you are
gonna untie
you
and
are
take
on
off?
Right.
complaining to a group of strangers. You bold with it, like that type of stuff. I'm thankful I've never had to deal with that type of stuff. I've had moments where
That
in the past
definitely in touch with his feminine side. For real.
In the past.
So I know OCD is a thing, but that's a little overboard.
That's too much. That's controlling.
That's overboard.
That's beyond control. And then controlling for what, sir?
Yeah.
I've had moments in the past where I'm like, you know what? I want to cut my hair. And I cut it, and he's fine. I've had moments in the past where I want to go and get braids down to my hiney, and he's fine. And so those types of things, those superficial things, we don't deal with. Yeah. If he ever decides to grow his hair and let his bald spot shine,
that's why
I'm here for it.
That's why we started shaving bald at 30. I knew I looked at my granny and my dad. I said, "Oh no, can't rock the hole in the natural." Let's say
the George Jefferson.
That boils down to the science in the beginning. Right. I'm someone who stayed single for a very long time because I look at how people treat me. So if you speak to me a certain way, you say certain things in the beginning, we're not gonna make it any further. I'd rather be alone than just deal with anyone. So it's just like, I'll wait for the right one to come, because I feel like in the beginning, no matter how much they're acting, you're gonna see that nastiness come out on some level.
You are, and you feel if we all have a level of intuition, and if you listen to it, you feel when someone is off. And society has told us we have to be nice to people and we have to accept people and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, you are telling you, I don't know about this one, and you ignore it. I teach and I tell my students, I'm about to tell you something that you have never been told. You're being too nice. You don't do that. You don't put yourself in a position to be taken advantage of or used.
Right.
So when we get those little inklings, we need to be bold enough to act on them and appreciate and love ourselves enough to act on them, because
don't be scared to walk away.
Right. I firmly believe that. I don't think that anyone who says they were caught off guard, I don't think they were caught off guard. I think they ignored.
Yeah. Because if you put your boundaries, and I've paid attention to this throughout my years, where I'm like, if you feel I'm difficult, I'll be difficult. because there are things that I'm not going to deal with.
Right.
So if you feel that is difficult or I'm too much, then I'm gonna keep it pushing.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Because if you can't even take the bare minimum boundaries in the beginning,
you probably, and the truth is, you probably don't deserve me. Because you're not going to treat me properly if that's how you feel going into it. So you probably don't deserve me, because I think that I think I'm a little work. I think
there's the mix up of that, like if you don't fall in line, you're not submissive enough. So I feel like people get submission wrong, where it's not just, oh, I'm submitting, now you control me. Because I feel like a real woman is going to step aside and allow her man to lead.
Right.
If it's the right man that's going to lead.
Right. I think the word submission needs to be left out of it. Like you said, let a man be a man.
Yes.
And so in that relationship, he's going to lead, he's going to provide, protect, and provide is not always money.
Right, exactly.
It's not always physical protect.
Right.
But when you have someone that you trust, when you have someone who you're comfortable with and you trust with yourself. So we and I know I drive him crazy when we're on road trips and he's driving and I'm over there holding the bar and pressing, and I know it drives him crazy, but I do trust him, because if I didn't, I would be driving.
Right.
And there have been situations to where we were going somewhere. This was last year, and the truck lost a wheel.
Oh yeah.
And he handled it. I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have aimed towards the tire. Who knows? But so in those situations, he knows that I'm going to sit in the passenger seat and act a fool.
Yep.
And he ignores it. I know he's going to get us to where we're going. I'm just going to act a fool while we're getting there.
Yep.
And so there's that balance. I allow him to do what he does. But the word submission, I don't even like that, because people have used it, and I honestly think that especially with some of the men who use it, I think that's what they want.
Yeah.
And they want somebody they can put in their place. But sir, if you are doing your part, I'll put myself in my place.
Exactly.
I'll put myself in my place.
Yes.
Exactly. I do feel it is that like it shouldn't even be a question, because I feel like if it's you understand, and especially for a woman, that's safety, feeling safe.
Yep.
Feeling absolutely. I can trust you with my life is huge.
Yep.
Once you have that, you're going to step aside. You're not going to need to be in control.
Right.
You're not going to need to be able, I got to do everything and say everything. And
right.
Even if your man is in control, it's not a bad thing to question or ask, like, what's going on, or keep me in the loop of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Why do I need to just shut up and sit down and go to the
right.
And
a real man is going to respect that you ask.
Right.
You ask, keep me abreast of things.
Yeah.
Well, where are we with this? But I still step back and allow you to continue handling things.
The submission is, I hate that term too, but we won't use it. So if the submission means that I come to her and we talk about these things, we talk about whatever decision we're going to make. Yes, I have to find a decision, but I'm going to that decision with her guidance.
Right.
Because I have to look at how it's going to affect the both of us.
Right.
And as a man,
right.
of course, it's all going to fall back on me, because they're going to look at it like, well, you made the decision. How did you put your family in that situation? Right. But I'm going to that decision with her guidance.
Right.
Exactly.
So people get it twisted and think like, well, I'm a man and I'm this, and what I say and what I say go.
Right.
Like, if that's the case, then a lot of you lead your family to hell.
Right.
And
right.
That's because, it's just like you don't, without having a part of it is having your wife as your helpmeet.
Right.
It's
a partnership.
It's a partnership.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you come together and talk about that thing, and then you come to the final conclusion. But if you're doing everything on your own, you wonder why everybody's sitting up there looking at you like you're crazy. Well, that's why.
Right. You should want your person, your wife, to be included. You should want her to.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? To support you in those decisions.
Right.
You want to have the conversation. I don't get those type of relationships. I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Right.
It's not
And-
like you're the president and the other person is like the worker bee. Like,
Right. And you brought up safety.
mhm.
That's one thing that when we were just friends, we were friends for about 5 or so years before we delve into 1997, the year it all changed. As friends, our friend groups would get together and we would gravitate towards each other. And we'd sit there, we'd laugh. I always felt safe with him. And at that point in my life, and honestly, up until stuff started coming back to me, I didn't understand why that feeling of safety was so important. But it was important for me to if I'm in a room with several males, to be around someone who I felt safe and protected.
Yeah.
And so that's, like I said, when we're in the car, I might be holding on, I might be acting up, but I feel safe, because if I didn't, I would drive.
Yep. Every now and then, she ain't many, but every now and then she'd be like, "I'm driving."
Yep, that's when I know
I
I'm already
quietly
anxious.
be looking like, God, don't.
Yep. And that's when I know my anxiety is way up here. I'm going to aggravate him, so I might as well go ahead and drive so that doesn't happen. And then I scare him because I am more of an aggressive driver than he is.
Yep.
I know we kind of went over. We will wrap it up. Just thank you two for coming on. I will have the link of your podcast in the descriptions, you guys. So wherever you're watching this or listening to it, their link will be in there, so you guys can go over there and check them out and support their podcast. But yeah, it was great having you guys on here and just talking about all of these these crazy things in life. I don't know if you guys got anything you want to say, to end.
We want to focus on like more than love. Like is what's going to allow your mate to go through therapy and deal with all these differences. And you sit there and I like her. I'm gonna stick with her through all this.
Right.
Love is love. I mean,
Love
you love
easy.
family members, you love friends. You got some people you love, but you don't want to be around them 24/7.
Right.
Yep.
So we preface like more than love.
Focus on building that friendship.
Exactly.
Focus on that friendship. Yep. And thank you for having us. This has
Thank
been
you
wonderful.
so much. Yes.
Awesome. Definitely. We definitely can do it again. I love talking about this stuff because I feel like this is like what we should be talking about and make it more normalized and get out of the whole stereotypical crap that's keeping people alone and sad and, struggling.
Absolutely right. And there's no need to be. We have to put ego aside.
Yeah.
You have to stop worrying about what your friend is telling you, and what your mama is telling you, and if it's what you want. And that's one thing. We put each other first. And so I've had to tell my mama, that doesn't work for me, but okay.
Right.
Thank you for that advice. My friends know when he's off, they're probably not gonna talk to me very much. They know he comes first.
Yep.
And so that's something that it's okay. It's okay to tell people no. It's okay to be in love, to be in like, and to be wrapped up in your partner to the point where everybody else don't exist for those times. That's okay. It's okay to be that way.
The hard part about it is that's what we want for everybody. We want everybody to feel this feeling that we feel. Everybody deserves it.
Everybody that wants it.
Everybody that wants it.
And
everybody wants it.
No,
to a degree.
they don't. Some
just,
people don't.
People are settling for what
they do.
Access to. You know what I'm saying?
Some people don't want it. Some people,
naturally, everybody wants it. But of course, depending on how you're raised and going through different things and different aspects of life, you're like, I'm running into this joke and that joker. So now I'm guarded. You know what I'm saying? it's there are ways that people, I think, push themselves out to a degree. You know what I'm saying? And that could be through past traumas, past relationships. And it's like you say, let go those. I mean, I'm like, what they call them, the list. People have that list. The list should change from 14 to 15 to 25 to 45. You shouldn't be looking for tall, dark, and handsome at 15 and then still looking for tall, dark, and handsome at 50. You just change a little bit. Just adjust that thing. That's all I'm saying.
I will agree. I agree with you. There was years I did not want a relationship. And it was because, of course, what I saw and the people that I did see in those long-term relationships, and then what I went through, and then it made me very standoffish, very guarded. Right. And then I got to a point when I was approaching 40 that I was just like, no, I really do want a relationship. I had just been traumatized and hurt and angry for so long that I didn't know how to be other than, I'm gonna just be single, Right. And I started my healing path, which brought me where I am today. That my healing path brought me here today. And it made me realize how much trauma I was sitting in, how much anger I was sitting in. And it was just like, oh, wow. Oh my God. So definitely, I'm a definitely different person today, and how I view relationships and love and all of that stuff is so different from the person I was, maybe 6 years? I think it's been like 6 years since I came into my path. But definitely people that are acting and pretending that they don't want it, once you get deep down in there, those traumas are going to come out, the perception of what they think love and marriage is, and just because everybody else is doing this, you think that's how it's going to be for you. So you were like, I don't want that.
Yep. Or you meet 2 or 3 individuals who make you think, well, I guess they're right.
Yeah.
I don't want this.
That is, and one of the things, and I do teach this with people, you are the common denominator in everyone coming in your life. I don't care if it's a friend. I don't care if it's whoever it is that comes into your life, you're the common denominator. You're attracting this person on some level.
I like that.
So,
right.
Yes. And this was one of the hardest things for me to swallow in the beginning, because I was like, I'm not the problem.
Because it makes you have to take
I'm not the problem. They're the problem. And then it was just like, no, I'm the problem. I am the problem. And then you go in deeper and you're like, it's based on those traumas that's sitting in the dark. So, it's not them. They're just being them.
Right.
Yep.
I wouldn't attract this type of person if I would handle my own stuff.
Right. Or people who are people pleasers or people fixers.
Yep.
And you wonder why everybody is coming to you and they need fixing.
Yep.
That's because you keep trying to fix them.
Then you fix them, and then they on
you
to
keep
the next
trying
person.
to fix them.
Yeah.
I help him heal, and he going on. He done got married.
Because you fixed. That's the job that you chose.
Yep. A lot of women go through that, and I've been that woman too. Like, and you see the person's gone on, and I'm like, why does this person go off and go find A forever? But you don't realize that you become that buffer because you're not really open for a relationship. Not really, not truly. Right. So you are in that buffer stage because you haven't healed your own stuff. So this person comes to you with their baggage because you sitting in your baggage. You help this person, they go off and go live their best life. You're still stuck in your crap because no one's helped you and you're not helping you.
Right.
So you're not ever going to get to that point to find your person or really attract that. And then once you start healing, you stop dealing with so much stuff. You're not the people pleaser no more. You're not the one who's just letting people talk to you in your kind of way or call you at 2 a.m. or all of these things. You stop being that person. So then it's just like, I was the problem.
It's a humbling experience.
Yeah.
But it's also rewarding on the other end of it. I'm thankful that going through all of that, I did have him, and because I don't know if I would have dealt with me. I don't know if I would have dealt with me. I did good though. I didn't. Right. It wasn't too hard, was I?
It's like, not for me.
And that
Right.
goes with,
Right. Not for him.
That goes with, we have this thing that goes on. Everybody says, well, there's only one person for you, and there's that one person. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that, there are a bunch of kindred spirits, and we have to find those individuals that think like us,
Right.
and, have that same spirit that we have. And I think that, that was the case, because I always felt like, I knew when I was getting into a relationship that I was going to have to take on, whatever that came with it.
Right.
Now, I'm different because when I grew up, like I say, I was the youngest of 10. But, I used to actually sit there and read those little Cosmopolitan and women's magazines, trying to study these women, see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So I used to read all that stuff, so I knew that I was going to have to, deal with some issues. So it wasn't like I thought that I was going to get in a relationship and everything was just supposed to be easy peasy and just flow through it.
Right.
I mean, that wasn't reality. But I think a lot of people think like that.
Yeah.
And they think like we don't have to invest time in and listen to the conversations, listen to those problems, listen to those emotions. So where, that's the gist of it. And a lot of guys, they're just on the move so much and they don't want to sit there and listen.
Yeah.
It's where you learn your mate. You listen. Not listen to respond, not listen to fight, but listen.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing, that it's the reality that it's a choice to be together.
Yes.
It is.
Love is never going to be enough to keep you guys together. Because I get a lot of people are like, well, if that was my soulmate, why didn't it work? And it's like, you two stopped trying to make it work.
Exactly.
Right.
You gave up. Somebody gave up.
Right.
Both of y'all gave up. And it is a choice to be through that thick and thin, those good days, those bad days, those hectic times, grief, hospitalization, sickness, all of those things.
But I think too, it doesn't take anything that big either.
No, not
you
these
can
days.
let it bit by bit, day by day, start to go down. And if you are not intentional with not letting that happen, then it can happen. So it doesn't have to be a big catastrophic thing. If you're not feeding into your relationship, one of the things I say, like I said, he's a nice one. I'll cut people off. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. I'll forget about people. So, you cut people out because I feel like if you are not for me, you are against me. And so if we are not pouring into our relationship, then we're leaving that open for something to happen.
Right.
And like we said in the beginning, pouring in doesn't have to be these big, grand gestures.
Yeah.
It's us checking in every day. It's us sending text messages, having our inside jokes, and watching our Dateline and things like that. So if you aren't pouring into it, then you're leaving these gaps open.
Yep.
And that's what you don't want. You don't want something small to start and then something big to creep in and just split it all up.
And some of them people you cut might have to be family.
Oh yeah, cut people.
And not saying that you had to cut them all the way off, but sometimes you just might have to distance yourself. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You know the people you deal with. You know your family. You know how they are. You know your friends. You know how they are. You know if they're negative, if they don't, they always saying negative things about your mate, or not supportive of anything positive going on in your life. I don't need to tell them that. Then I don't need to tell my negative Nancy we trying to buy a house. They're gonna talk us out of it.
Right.
Doing that, you know what I'm saying? Just those people.
Definitely.
Started a whole nother segment.
I was like, yeah, because that's a whole other.
We'll talk about that next time.
Definitely, because we could go in on that one too.
Oh, yes.
Man.
We'll talk about that next time.
All right, you guys. Once again, thank you so much, Byron and Margaret, just having you guys on here. Definitely, you guys, we definitely will bring them back. Leave us a comment. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share this out. Until next time, Bye.